tell me, we got very disturbing information in court documents today, and there was an arraignment of a sexual assault that had to do with a woman that has a disability, a pretty advanced developmental disability. Can you tell me, in your research or knowledge, how often do these type of assaults, sexual or not sexual, just physical assaults maybe occur?
Yeah, so people with developmental disabilities are at significantly greater risk of being sexually abused than people without a disability. So, approximately 30% of adults with developmental disabilities are sexually abused at some time in their adulthood. Children with developmental disabilities are 3 to 4 times more likely to be sexually abused than children without developmental disabilities.
Those numbers are, to me, are pretty staggering. Can you speak to, first off, I know family members can't always be full-time caretakers. So for people who have these type of disabilities, what are some things that family members maybe need to look out for if these people cannot communicate fully, maybe what has happened to them?
Well, first, I think it's important to understand that everyone who's been sexually abused responds differently to that because sexual abuse affects everybody differently. So there's no one primary way that people respond or to react to that type of abuse. With that said, there are some things that people may notice, and they would be changes from their loved one's typical behavior. So there may be changes, noticeable changes in behavior, and that can be a pretty wide range of behavioral changes. There may be a considerable change in mood that seems out of the blue, like anxiety or depression, withdrawal, anger that seems unexplained or unusual for them. They may be afraid of being alone or of leaving their homes. They may become more overly focused on their own bodies or curious about their own bodies or other people's bodies. They may engage in new sexual behaviors themselves. They may exhibit fear that would be unusual for them in other situations.
Yeah, so there's a wide range here of things that you're mentioning, but if people are paying attention, they may be able to definitely see. What is a way that someone with a developmental disability can possibly be educated, I guess, depending on the degree of their disability, about the right and wrong things when it comes to this and maybe how to alert people?
Sure. And it would be tailored to the individual's abilities and needs. But just in general, I think basic age appropriate sexual education so they know appropriate terminology to use for their body parts and for adults to know appropriate terms for certain sexual activity, to learn appropriate healthy boundaries, to be able to have a trusted person or a few trusted people that they can go to in any circumstance that they feel safe talking to if something were to happen, whether it's sexual abuse or other type of abuse or neglect. Um, I think it's important to learn healthy and unhealthy relationships. And so, as an example, Greene County Board of Developmental Disabilities offers a healthy relationships class that they offer to people that they serve in their county, but they also open it up to people with developmental disabilities from other counties. And so that type of education is really important.
Yeah, and can you kind of go over, because I think this may be overlooked, that um, these situations are still physically and mentally traumatic, even though someone may have some sort of developmental disability. Can you kind of go into that because people may not understand that these people are experiencing trauma?
Yeah, so just because somebody may have, let's say, an intellectual disability or significant communication deficits, doesn't mean that they're affected by sexual abuse or other trauma any less or differently than people without disabilities. They may show it differently, or they may not be able to show it, at all in some cases, but that doesn't change the impact on them. So it's important, as an example, if someone doesn't have good communication skills, that there are other ways that they, or they don't have good verbal skills, there's other ways for them to communicate their needs through, skills that they learn that aren't, just through speaking.
Absolutely. And then my last question for you is, there was essentially a witness that seems like, from what we can tell, was just someone kind of walking by or a bystander in this situation and noticed, something seems off here. How can we help these situations as a community? If we witness it, or even maybe not, we're a witness directly to it, but how can we help decrease these numbers that just seem um, sadly very high?
Well, I think not ignoring concerns that you may observe. So if someone witnesses something, not ignoring that or just attributing it to the person having a disability of some sort. And I think the most important thing is to notify someone, the police, depending on the age of the person that is suspected of being abused, children's services, adult protective services. If it's suspected that the person has a developmental disability, they can call an agency like us, the County Board of Developmental Disabilities.